Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss of internet shitlords. And before I start, I'd like to say that this Sunday, we're going to be having an episode of Inappropriate Characters. So keep your eyes open for that. Check it out. It's going to be good. We are apparently, I at the moment at least, I mean, it will always, you never know, there might be some last minute cancellation or something, but we're apparently going to have Jeffro Johnson, one of the architects of the first edition Bro SR type movement, what I call the AD&D first edition Taliban, is going to be on the show. So it should be interesting. There should be some interesting conversations that emerge out of that. So don't miss it. Don't miss your chance to watch it. And anyways, after that, I'm going to be doing a show next week also. But I think I'll leave the details set later because I'm sure I'll do another video before that. I'll do another guest star in a show next week, but I'll mention that later. So anyways, getting to the point here, I could have done a video, and I was very close to doing a video about this thing that's come up on Twitter now, where apparently the word master in Dungeon Master or Game Master is now basically, if you use it, you're a Nazi. And so, but that's basically the whole story, right? It's just retarded SJWs doing stupid things, right? And I mean, the only other part of the story has been that there's been some people saying that, this is just one or two people, why are you so worried? Well, like somebody put a post, about how in tech they've done exactly the same thing, because I guess the word master is a term in programming, and now they're like trying to force all the replacement of that word with something else, because apparently these people don't understand that master has different definitions and that its use is contextual. But anyway, I've decided instead to give you guys another little preview of the Invisible College, and I think that's a more useful use of our time here, because I know some of you have been wanting to hear more about it. So last time I did it, I was talking about the general practices of magic. Today I'm going to go through the theories of magic. And so the first, if you don't know anything about the Invisible College, well, check out the introduction video. The Invisible College is my 430 something page rule book, an OSR. It's an OSR occult modern conspiracy role-playing game where you play mostly magicians, but also possibly secret agents who are engaged in a secret war in our real world for the occult destiny of mankind, right? For its liberation or enslavement. And magicians, it's an OSR game, but the magic system is very different. It doesn't use Vancian fireballs. So here are some of the examples of some of the practices, some of the theories that magicians can learn. And these have been put in alphabetical order, which actually I'm not sure was the smartest way for me to do it. It's probably the easiest way to look things up, but it has a disadvantage. Excuse me. Iced coffee. It has a disadvantage that it doesn't really reflect the order in which people are likely to get it. So the very first of the theories listed is Abramelin theory. Abramelin, and again, all of this is magic that is based off of real magic that has existed historically in occult textbooks and grimoires and things like that, and in teachings of different magical schools, and it reflects more or less the way a hermetic magician looks at magic today. So the Abramelin practice is a magical system that is used when you go from being a mere initiate to becoming an adept. This is the ritual that transforms you into an actually powerful magician. Because as I mentioned in the previous video, there are kind of different power levels of a magical campaign of Invisible College. Because at low level, your characters have some magical tricks that they can do, things here and there, but they're not super powerful, right? Like the magic is mostly something that helps them in what are otherwise investigation and combat scenarios. And then when they hit adept, they start learning some magic that is really blatantly supernatural stuff. And so the Abramelin ritual is a ritual that also has a big effect in the game world. I'd kind of debated how do I use this like whether I should do it the way it's actually done, or should I try to game it away so it's a bit easier. Because basically, let's say you've been training in magic, you get to like a certain point, and there you have to, if you want to proceed, you have to make what is called the communion with the Ogoides, the union to your higher self, right? Or the knowledge and the conversation of the holy guardian angel. And that requires the Abramelin ritual. The Abramelin ritual, I mean, there are other rituals, but they all work basically the same way. You have to spend a ton of time by yourself doing fervent acts of prayer and devotion, emptying your time and your mind of all other activities until you have a beatific experience that will then lead you into a connection with a tutelary spirit that is also your higher self, and will teach you the secret keys that you need to continue to advance in magic. Okay? And so what that means in game terms is that a character, when they begin to do the Abramelin ritual, that character is out of action for at least 6 months. 6 months or more. It could be a lot more. It could be a year and a half, right? And so that means in some campaigns that won't matter, because the DM will just say, okay, well, 6 months go by and now you guys continue to play blah, 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 right? But if you're playing a campaign where, the assumption is that things are going on step by step, that there's like a day by day progression or something like that, or a week by week progression, that character is out of the action. Because one of the elements of the Abramelin ritual is that if you interrupt the ritual, not only does it make the ritual fail, but it causes catastrophic effects on your psyche and catastrophic effects on the place and people around you in your failed attempt, right? Because it has because this is something that requires a kind of an oath on your part that you will see it through unto the end. And if you fail doing that, it really screws you up for a long time. There are a lot of instances of people who started doing the Abramelin work, stopped for whatever excuse, and then that really screwed them up psychologically. It screwed up their lives. The most famous case is Aleister Crowley, right? Who was doing the Abramelin ritual in Boleskine House, and then he quit because there was an emergency of like a power conflict in the Golden Dawn, the group he was in. And after that, his life was a wreck for the next several years. And the house where he was doing it in became a famous Scottish haunted house to this day. Now, why do all this? Well, because once you do, then you're given a bunch of magical secrets that all at once, anything you've been missing, basically you start getting taught by your holy guardian angel. And then after that, you will be able to summon and bind the 4 kings of hell. And why would you want to do that? Well, because once they're bound to you, then they must send forward their spirits that will be bound to a series of magic squares. These aren't wordles. These are magical squares that are used for a wide variety of purposes. There's all kinds of them, and you get access to all of these anytime you want to create one, and they have like really strong magical power. So that's Abramelin. Apophenia and pareidolia is the magic of finding connections in things that aren't apparently connected. That's apophenia. Pareidolia is the magic of seeing visual images or patterns in objects. And these are used principally with divination, but they can also be used to create sigils or to invoke directly the goddess Apophenia and intentionally make yourself kind of crazy, but then be able to see hidden connections in things. Astrology, one of the most ancient and best-known occult studies. Most people think of astrology as just something for fortune-telling, and certainly you can do certain amount of like divination with it. But more importantly than that, with astrology, you are dealing with the planetary bodies and the archetypes that those represent. So you can use it to travel astrally to the planetary planes, to the realms of the gods and things like that. You can use invocation to invoke the spirits of different planets for their different respective qualities, because every planet has a different quality, right? The moon has to do with emotion and instinct, Mars with aggression and force, Mercury with intellect and knowledge, Jupiter has to do with construction and power and authority. Saturn with death and change. Venus with love, and with the active emotions rather than the subconscious emotions. And the sun obviously with virtue, with glory, etc. The point is, you invoke the spirits, and they give you bonuses that you can use to make you more effective in things related to the subject matter that those spirits have. You can also try to directly invoke gods. You can temporarily have, say, if you do an invocation of the sun, you could temporarily have Apollo manifest within you and use the powers that Apollo represents to get bonuses on things related to Apollo. Now, Apollo is the god of the sun, but he was also the god of he was a god of medicine. He was a god of music and poetry. He was the god of civilization, etc., etc. All these things can obviously have their risks. Anytime you're trying to invoke a spirit, you can end up having, well, you can fail if you fail badly enough, it can be kind of traumatizing. If you succeed, that can also be disconnecting you from humanity, right? So there's risks involved. You can also use astrology to create very powerful astrological talismans. And these talismans have a variety of effects. And this is like, you don't have to be an adept yet to use them. But so like these are very powerful talismans that are about as useful a magic as you can get before you've become an adept. Consecrating of tools. This is the magic that allows you to create the permanent magical tools. There are 5 of them technically. Here are 4, right? The wand, the cup, the sword, and the pentacle. Each of them are used in most ceremonial magic, and so if you have the permanent versions of them, you can get bonuses to your magic checks in any ritual that involves any of the tools that you have. The 5th one is the lamp, which you must create in order to be able to invoke the Abramelin ceremony. Besides that, magical swords, daggers can affect magical or incorporeal creatures. Likewise, you can end up using the wand to damage creatures that are supernatural, and all of them give you benefits to magic. Cyber magic is a magic of the new style chaos magicians, and it is the magic of performing magic in and through the what's called the psychosphere. The psychosphere being the term for the group mega consciousness of the internet, of the human interaction with machines. So it is, you will best know it. Well, I mean, there's cyber divination, which you can use by, finding answers through random internet searches. And then there's cyber sigils, and cyber sigils are what would best be known as meme magic. So yes, you can perform meme magic in in the Invisible College, where you are creating a sigil that is meant to have a certain magical effect that can cause change in the world or lead you to a certain result. And of course, the more people see it, so the more viral it becomes, the more powerful the magic gets. It might even elect a president. And then cyber invocation is where you can make a use of a cyber sigil to invoke a postmodern concept or spirit, to invoke fictional characters or things like that, and use the power of them for achieving certain effects. It's not really quite as powerful as the traditional invocations that have tens of thousands of years of archetypal force behind them, but they're still good in a pinch, and they're a heck of a lot easier to do. Next, we have Enochian magic, which is the magic created by Dr. John Dee, the great magician of the Elizabethan age. And it uses a series of tables, a special language called Enochian that you'd have to learn, and a set of invocations that allows you to do various things. For one, it lets you spy, because in case you don't know, John Dee was one of the earliest agents of Her Majesty's Secret Service, and his codename was 007. And he went around Europe, promoting his magic, and at the same time spying for the English crown. But besides that, one of the things his angelic operations were for was to summon up the spirits to see what was going on in different parts of the world. So if you know where an opponent is, you can use Enochian magic to spy on them. You can also invoke the Enochian angels, who engage in a series of specific tasks that are useful, that can give you various bonuses or give you various results that you might want, including direct manipulation of elements and things like that. And then the most famous example is the Enochian astral travel, which is where you travel dimensionally through the 30 aethers of reality. Each one teaches you a certain lesson and leads you to different levels of advancement. And until you get to become an adept, until you do the Abermelin ritual, you can only get so high up the Enochian aethers. And then after that, you can get a bit higher until you have to do the step of getting to the 10th circle, where you would have to challenge the demon of illusion and overcome yourself. So basically, you have to. That is where the next step of the wizard's advancement is. After an adept comes the master. A master is someone who has overcome the duality within themselves. And this is basically a Buddha, right? And there are lots of ways to do this. One way, the way that Hermetic magicians do it, is by going into the realm of the demon that they have. That they call it Koronzon in Buddhism. It's called Maya. It's called many different names in different ways, and it is an embodiment of the power of one's own illusion. So when you do that, so in Enochian magic, when you get to that point, it means that everything beyond there means you're now a master of the temple, where you have even more power. And you then get into like the cosmic level stuff, not just the mid-level stuff in the campaign. So Enochian is a very important skill, but it's not the only way to do it. There are other ways. Goetia. Goetia is the medieval magic that involves the summoning and binding of demons for effects. And theoretically, anyone can do that. It's very dangerous to do. It has a lot of potential drawbacks. It is easy to screw it up. But if you end up doing it right, it can have some very powerful effects, even if you're a relatively low-level magician. But it's, like I said, if you are a low-level magician, it's hard to do it good. And in here, I've included all 72 demons of the Goetia. Slight changes having been made because this is not meant to be a magic book, so I didn't want to have the exact names and symbols. So don't think you can buy this and perform a Goetic. Like, none of this. This is not some weird thing Joe Bittman has invented. And neither is it Venger Satanis's work. So it's not completely made up bullshit like Venger's. And it's not insane, cyber magic. Not cyber magic. What do you call it? Chaos magic stuff that the idea is you're using it for real while playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is dumb. All right. So this is just a representation of what Goetic magic looks like, and you can end up using it completely safely in the game by rolling dice and adding bonuses and nothing else. Next, we get to the I Ching, an incredibly powerful form of magic on the basis of being literally the oldest book in continual use in the world, and having discovered the secrets of things like binary mathematics and the nature of time 3,000 years before anybody else did. So the I Ching is mainly known of course, as a divination tool in the West, as a divination tool used by hippies. Badly. They don't know what they're doing with it. But in fact, it is a great book of wisdom that guides you in the way that you're expected to live. It is a Confucian book that is to say that it was used by the school of Confucius to teach the idea that every moment in time is a product of a series of choices that we make, and then at every moment you have the choice between embodying what they called the superior individual or the inferior person. So you can use it for divination, and there's rules here for how you use it as divination. You can use it also for performing invocations. You can divine it as you become good at it. You can divine it without actually having to do the ritual of it. You can use it to get visions of the past or the future, and you can use it eventually to master time and space itself. Then we have, of course, the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is the great Jewish cosmological system, but that it was quickly adopted by the Christian Hermeticists in the 16th century. And the Hermetic Kabbalah, the Kabbalah of magicians, is a little bit different than the Jewish Kabbalah. They're basically the same, except that the Jewish Kabbalah puts a lot more emphasis on the study of the scripture and of the idea of this cosmology being unique to the Jewish concept. And in a certain way it is, but in other ways it's not, because at the peak of the Jewish concept is the idea that there's a single supreme entity of the entire universe. And that's right. Everything else they interpret from a Jewish lens, whereas the Hermetic Kabbalah, it says, yes, there is a single absolute deity, an absolute most high concept, a most high entity is the source of all creation, right? And then that means that everything else being reflected from that source is all united and connected to each other. And so therefore it is a universalist view about this. It's saying that the divisions of like my God versus your God, right? This is the God of the hill, or this is the God of the mountain, or this is the God of this city or that city, or this is my God but not your God, and that's your God but not my God, is an impossibility, right? It's something that makes no sense in the great context of cosmology. And because of that, because all things proceed from a singular source, which is also, by the way, taught in the Ching, that means that all things are connected to one another. And if you understand those connections, then you can understand how to manipulate subtle things within those connections. So the spheres of life and the paths that connect the spheres of life, that's the tree of life there, provide a guideline for finding correspondences, to understand why certain symbols are connected to other symbols. Why is gold, which is found in Tiferet, connected to the sun, which is also in Tiferet? Well, what Tiferet is about explains why those two things are together, right? So you can use the Kabbalah for astral travel, to travel up the planes and seek to understand the nature of reality itself. And just like with the Enochian system, there's a point when you get to before the top triangle called the abyss. And if you wish to pass further, you must overcome your own duality in the trial of the abyss, where you face again the demon, or the manifestation of all that is illusion within yourself. There's also a set of divination called gematria, which is based on how every Hebrew letter has a number value, and you work out numbers that give you kind of secret messages related to a word or phrase that you have decoded. Kabbalistic invocation allows you to summon the angels and archangels of the tree of life, each of which give you special powers. And likewise, there is Kabbalistic evocation, which is that just as there's a light side to every part of the tree of life, there's a dark side. And that dark side are the things called the Klippot, which are the entities that are demonic entities. But the Kabbalah is very interesting in how it defines what a demon is. A demon is something that never actually existed, right? So when there was creation, the word Klippot means an empty shell. And so it means that in the process of the birth of creation, like you see when like a baby bird is born, and then what's left behind is this shell that was never part of that life, but it was a residue of it, right? And so the Klippot, demons, are entities of what never was and could never be. And I think that's like a pretty mind-blowing kind of concept, and very interesting. And so I went out of my way to describe the different Klippothic hells and the entities that are governing there, and the sort of things that they can do for you if you try to bind them into your service in the same way that you can do with the Goetia. And given that we're at getting close to the half-hour mark, I should probably stop there. So we'll pick up with a part 2 of this later on, providing some more things, starting with the runes. All right. So thank you for watching. If you like this video and you want me to talk more about this or about this kind of stuff, then please share the video everywhere you can, because, usually me ranting about stuff gets a lot more views than videos of me talking about games, whether they're my games or other people's games. So please share the video so that the views go up. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and check out all my products, the Old School Companion, the Invisible College, Old School Companion 2, there's the Adventure Book, and all my various other games. You'll find the description to all of them in the link below, or the links to them rather in the descriptions below, that you're going to find that all of them are made by someone who likes games and gaming and likes you for being a gamer, does not despise you, does not want to indoctrinate you into something, that actually wants games to be about games. So if you agree with that, and you want to find someone whose products you can buy that you're also going to really like, because they're all good products. If you like D&D, if you like, medieval fantasy, if you like sci-fi, there's something for everyone. Science fantasy, gonzo gaming, occult, and kind of, it's not horror really, but it's like modern fantasy, but it has tinges of horror in it, and conspiracy gaming. If you ever liked Illuminati, check out the Invisible College. And this is how we can continue to help encourage me to make more products, but also continue to fight back against the culture that has infested certain echelons of gaming that want to transform our hobby into something that is just about indoctrinating you in leftist causes. So I guess that's everything for today. Currently smoking Stanwell Deluxe plus Argento Natural.